Hi, Mr. Ward. How are you doing?
I'm fine, citizen.
How is quarantine life treating you?
Well, I'm used to being cooped up in the bat cave, but it's a little different here, but I got to tell you, whatever it takes, we got to everybody get well and be safe. And so if it means staying inside and not going out, not climbing into the Batmobile or going for a ride, I guess I'll just have to give that up for the time being.
When you knew we were going to be kind of all stuck in the house for a while, what was the one thing that you stocked up on?
Well, yeah, there's no toilet paper to be found in our city.
Yeah, same here.
But we actually, I mean, there's just so many things. I mean, we actually have so much food that we have to feed all of our animals, and we have a huge 100-foot long koi pond, so I've got fish food. So I took care of the animals, but we have enough to live on. I guess coffee is something that I like to have. I've developed a taste for, but that, and then whenever you can get to the market and try to be safe. Although it's getting harder to feel like you can be safe even at the market, we go there and I have to wear a mask, and of course I should have worn the regular mask. I wore my Robin mask.
Right. Yeah, I don't know if that's protecting you much.
Not at all.
By the way, congratulations on the Walk of Fame star.
Well, thank you. January 9th, it was a terrific experience. I wanted to have that star in Hollywood Boulevard. I like to say that I'm a patient person, but I've been waiting over 50 years.
Right. I was going to say, did you say what took you guys so long?
Well, geez, I mean, all I can tell you is that 50 years, that's an awful long time to wait, wouldn't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. But finally, hey, better late than never.
Exactly. And what's great about it, it's my star is right in front of the Guinness Museum of World Records. And what's even better is it's right across from Adams. It's facing
so cool.
Adams' star. Now, anybody that's been to Hollywood Boulevard knows that since people walk in both directions on the sidewalk, that what they do is that every other star is facing the direction that you're walking.
Right.
And then for people coming the other way, it's the same thing. So Adam and my star are facing each other. And it's almost as though we're facing each other when we were doing our scenes in front of the camera. It's about the same distance. It's pretty cool,
That's really cool. When I was a kid, my dad took me to a car show to meet Adam. And, he was all decked out in the bat suit. And I remember this clear as day. I don't know, I was probably 5 or 6 or whatever. And I asked him where Robin was. And he said that you were in the bat cave washing the Batmobile. And even as a kid, I was like, here's Batman going out, signing these autographs. Meeting people, and you're stuck in the bat cave working. Did you ever look at any, child labor laws or anything like that?
I probably should have, but when I'm asked where Batman is, I just explained very nicely that he's out chasing Catwoman and he's hot on her trail.
That's right. So, obviously the show is still huge in pop culture all these years later, and I'm sure you thought at some point,
right,
I'm never going to play Robin again. That time is in the past. But really, in the past few years, you've played Robin quite a few times in a couple of animated features. And then most recently, you played Robin, or I guess Dick Grayson, in that DC crossover event. What was it like returning to the character after all these years?
Well, you need to understand something. What happened is, it's a little different than you might think. You see, when I tried out for the part of Robin, this was in September of 1965, they had already interviewed more than 1,100 young actors. I mean, that is just a national, search. 1,100 young actors.
Yeah.
When I first met the casting director of Sin In to see the executive producer, and and he was very nice. I had actually never tried out for anything, so I didn't go in there as most actors are that are already emotionally damaged from being rejected so many times. Your poor egos are just so beaten. So I just went in there and he said hello, and I said hello, sir, and I shook his hand, and he's like, oh, kind of caught him, back that I would be that aggressive, but in a very nice and polite way, but just still aggressive, and And it's so funny because on the internet, they have an interview with him, William Dozier, and he talks about, he says, well, this kid comes in and it's like, hello, Mr. Dozier, how are you? How are you? Right in my face, And he says, I knew instantly. That was my boy. I knew it. But what was interesting for me is that it actually, had to do several screen tests and stuff like that. But when I was selected, Mr. Dozier came to me and said, would you like to know why we selected you? And I said, yes, sir, I would. He said, well, we did a national search. More than 1,100 young actors were interviewed by the casting directors across the country and submitted to us. But the reason we picked you, Burt, was because in our minds, forgetting television, if there really was a Robin, I mean, like the real thing,
yeah,
we honestly think that you personally would be it.
wow.
So we don't want you to, quote, act. What you are is exactly what we want. So the only thing that we want you to do is two things: be yourself and be enthusiastic.
Yeah.
Well, let me tell you, me being enthusiastic takes no energy because I am just the opposite. I have to calm down, right?
Right.
So all of, when people ask me, how did you like returning to the role? The reality is I never left because the role was actually me.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? And all the things that I got to do, I had so much fun. And what was great about our show, some things are great and some things are not so great. Ending up in the emergency hospital so many times was not so great, from explosions, third-degree burns,
right,
2x4s breaking my nose. It's like really dangerous show. But what was great about the show was that there were so many effects, and the producers and director and all of the crew were so busy trying to get these effects to work that Adam and I were pretty much left alone. Other than saying, well, you're in front of the computers on this scene, or you're in the Batmobile, or, something like that,
right,
a general direction, we were left to do our lines and our relationship without any interruption. It can be very hard on an actor if the director says, well, no, say it this way, but mean that and this and that. And all of a sudden it doesn't come out natural because we were left alone. And because Adam and I, after we met in 5 minutes, the two of us were laughing. We never stopped laughing for over 50 years. We had we had a great friendship. Sometimes on the weekends, even though we worked incredibly long hours, we'd go out on a Saturday afternoon and play some tennis. And, my family liked his family. It was a great thing. It's not always that way, let me tell you, when you have co-stars. But for us, we had the greatest time. We were just wonderful friends. Anyway, so for me, it wasn't like leaving anything because it was I played the character I was really playing myself. So, and then, of course, with these wonderful movies, the animated features, full-length feature films released by Warner Brothers. Batman Return of the Caped Crusaders was the first one, and then second one, Batman versus Two-Face. And Adam West did the voice of Batman in both. I did the voice of Robin in both. And then in the Batman versus Two-Face, we had an incredible guest star who did the voice of Two-Face, and none other than William Shatner.
Yeah, I just talked to him about 2 months ago, actually.
Yeah, but if you think about it, here you have, in one animated feature, the voices of the two most iconic television shows in history.
Absolutely.
Batman and Star Trek, and the actors working together. And working with William Shatner, incredibly nice guy. He's like a razor. He's so sharp. He's just, and he's got an incredible sense of humor. Kind of reminded me of Adam.
Yeah.
They're very similar in their sense of humor and stuff like that. And it was a lot of fun working with him. And it was great doing that. And of course now, more recently, doing Supergirl, where I went in to film the Supergirl, but they actually used that in some of the other, because they have 5 shows on, and they were all 5 of the shows, Supergirl, Batwoman,
they all intertwined.
Tomorrow, Arrow, and Flash.
Yeah.
They're all fighting that same, Crisis on Infinite Earth. So they used my thing several times. but it was great doing it. In fact, one interesting tidbit is that I went up there and they said, Burt, in this scene we have you walking a dog. And I thought, well, here I operate the world's largest giant breed dog rescue.
Yeah.
Maybe they would doing that as kind of a, tip off or say hi about the fact I have so many dogs. But it wasn't that. What it was first of all, it was a German Shepherd, and I love Shepherds, but it was German Shepherd. And then I got thinking about it. I said, wait a minute. And I did a quick little research on my cell phone and found out that this dog that they had for me, it was purposely put in there because this dog represented Ace, the bat dog in the comic books. That was a crime-fighting dog, the bat dog, and was a German Shepherd. I mean, they had really, done some investigation, and they put it together, and it just was, it was very short, but everybody saw it. It was right in front of the main titles, and it was fun to do,
And you had a great sweater.
Well, let me tell you. Actually, I had designed the sweater.
Oh, wow.
They were going to, if you notice, all the colors in that sweater are the colors in my costume.
Right.
And I am developing some characters based on our dogs that we have here. The name of our rescue is Gentle Giants, same as the name of our dog food, Gentle Giants, and we have two dogs here. One of them is a Great Dane that we call Gentle, and the other is a Chihuahua we call Giant, right? And they're gonna have their capes, and they're gonna be crime-fighting dogs. So, and I created an animated character of myself that looked like me, but was wearing that sweater. And when they hired me, I said, I might have something great for you. So I sent them the images, and they went crazy. Said, oh my gosh, can we create a sweater for you that looks just like this? I said, sure. And that was the sweater they created. They made it to match the cartoon logo that we have of these characters and of my character that we're going to do in this animated show that Tracy and my wife and I are going to do.
That is so cool. My dad is the one who introduced me to the show because, he grew up watching it. And
exactly.
As for me, growing up in the late 80s, early 90s, I was really in the golden era of Batman because you had the 66 show, your show that was running every day. You had the
rerun, yeah.
Michael Keaton had the new movies that his version of Batman. They came out with Tim Burton. Exactly. And then you had the animated series. So I was surrounded by Batman, and I had no choice but to become a Batman fan, And so now my house and my studio and everything, it's full of Batman memorabilia. Did you keep any memorabilia from the show, or do you have a lot of Batman memorabilia?
Well, it's funny because I got one of my costumes, and I also got my close-up mask. In other words, we had different multiple outfits because of the fight scenes, and it was such an action-packed show that everything was getting torn here or there during the making of it. So I had like 6 costumes at all times. You know what I mean?
Right.
6 of them. But I got my mask that I used for close-ups, meaning it wouldn't have been scratched up with the fights and the or the smears or whatever. But so I got that, and I got a costume that I ended up donating for charity, and I also got a Batarang, which I thought was really cool. So that's what I got, and it was and that's plenty, and it's so funny because Adam had a whole room in his house where it was like the Bat Cave, and he had all his memorabilia.
Oh, that's so cool.
And it really is cool, and I don't know why or what happened in my life, but I don't have any of that. And I have friends that come over and say, Burt, it's so weird. Somebody could come into your house, and they would never know that, that you played Robin. There's nothing here that shows up. But, I said, well, I don't know, So, but at some point, it may be too late now, but I would start collecting it if I have some. And I do have a lot of awards and stuff that have been given from so many cities and so many arenas. Adam and I actually hold the arena records for outdrawing rock groups in some of these big arenas. Like, for example, Cobo Hall in Detroit, and McCormick Place in Chicago. These are giant facilities.
Yeah.
Where Adam and I, one of them, we had 188,000 paid attendance to see us over a weekend. I was out drawing every rock group that ever appeared there. And so both of them, we actually have, I think there's like 8 cities that we still hold the arena records for draw. Batman was so huge.
Yeah.
People at the time who, were kids or whatever at the time, it was the number 1 and number 2 show in the entire world. It was just, you just couldn't believe everything was Batman. Women had their hair cut, in a Batman style. There was everything, every piece of merchandise, every, just clothing, just everything, Batmobiles, little ones that, Mattel Batmobiles, so much stuff. And still today, in fact, there's an entire line of Batman 66 merchandise.
Oh, yeah.
Batman 66.
I've got 66 memorabilia all over the place.
Yeah, so it's become just, an enormous thing. And I've always had a great relationship. Well, I had a great relationship with 20th Century Fox. That's where we filmed it.
Yeah.
And then since then, Warner Brothers, that actually owns the rights to everything. I have a long-term agreement with them because they allow me to put my picture of Robin on our dog food bags.
Oh, that's so
which
cool.
Is really nice because, people see something they don't know, but if they see a celebrity or somebody they do know, they say, oh, well, gee, I should check this out kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So going back to Gentle Giant's dog food, I know you mentioned it a couple of times. How did that get started?
Well, my wife and I operate the largest giant breed dog rescue in the world called Gentle Giants. And we've rescued in the last 25 and a half years more than 15,500 dogs. Every one of those 15,500 would have been put to death if we hadn't saved them. And every single one, we paid for everything, food, medical, shelter, everything, and found each and every one a safe, loving, permanent home. And in the course of caring for so many primarily big dogs, initially they were just Great Danes. Over the years, we've now we have 45 different breeds here,
Right.
In fact, it's kind of funny because we have some tiny dogs here. Have you ever seen Chinese cresses? Those are the hairless dogs with the tongue hanging out of their mouth. We even have those, and they're 2 pounds. So I think my wife has redefined the term Great Dane. If it has 4 legs and a tail, it must be a Great Dane.
Right.
But the Danes and the other giant breeds have very short lifespans traditionally. And those that we didn't adopt, if we lost one, it just upset my wife and I to no end. We'd literally cry. So we vowed that if we could find a way, we'd try to help them live longer, because that's where you get the name Gentle Giants. These giant dogs, the bigger they are, the more gentle they are.
Right.
It's like I could take one in each hand, holding them by my little finger, and each one of them weighed 250 pounds, and I can just lead them anywhere you want to go just by holding on with my little finger to their leash or to the collar. So we first developed this feeding and care program because all of these dogs, by the way, lived in our house with us. They weren't in some other building or some other location or some yard. They live in our house with us at all times. We have a minimum of 50 dogs in our house.
Wow.
24/7 for the last 25 and a half years. Okay. So in any event, we developed a special feeding and care program, which on our website, gentlegiantsdogfood.com, any of your listeners that would like to add 5 or more years to your dog's life, they should go to our website. And on our website, gentlegiantsdogfood.com, there's a menu at the top of every page. And one of the menu items is special feeding and care program, which we developed. And it took, I like to say, it took my wife and I 25 years of our life to learn what any of your listeners can come on and read and learn in less than 25 minutes.
Right.
It's incredibly productive. But then we decided that was, we added like 3 to 4 years to each dog's life just by that feeding care program we developed. And then we said, maybe there's something else we could do. And the only thing we could think of is to change their food. And we figured, since these dogs are living with us and this is just for ours, for our own use, we weren't planning on selling it or anything. we made the finest dog food in the world because we could afford it. And we thought that by making the finest food, that we could add another year to a year and a half to each dog's life.
Right.
But what we found out was so upsetting to us, it actually changed our lives forever. And what we found out is that dog food companies know something the average person doesn't know, which is the more fat content you put in dog food, the hungrier it makes dogs. And when they load up the dog food with fat, dogs eat more and more. And guess what? People have to go out and buy more dog food.
Yeah.
And it doesn't help the dog. In fact, it shortens the dog's life. But we didn't do that. We didn't add any extra fat into our food. So whereas everybody else's fat content is 12 to 22%, ours is like 9%, which is only what's actually in the food naturally. Well, this and a bunch of other stuff, it turns out that we now have dogs living on our food up to 27 and a half years. And people say, well, how can you have a dog live that long? And if it did live that long, it probably couldn't walk. It probably just, could barely, just even sit up. And I said, oh, no. We have our dogs here that are in their mid-20s, and they run around like puppies. They're running around like puppies. And one of these dogs, her name is Bella. Our dogs, because we have these giant doggy doors, they're like 2 feet 2 feet wide and 3 feet tall, because we have really big dogs here. But so anyway, our dogs are in or out all day long, but at night we bring everybody in, for the night. It gets really late. We bring them in. It can be very cold out. So this one dog that's 25 years old plays a game with me, which is I won't come in, come and chase me. And I'm out here and it's pouring rain the last couple of nights. And she's running around in the rain, having the best time. I'm not having a good time.
Right.
I can tell you that for a fact. But she doesn't know that. And I'm chasing this 25-year-old dog running around, literally running. I can't catch her. I have to just, try to cut her off here or there. And finally I catch her and bring her in. And she's just had the best time at my expense, And it's like I'm freezing and shivering and chasing a 25-year-old dog. But the fact is, she's running around at 25. And so we have our food out and now we're in all the Target stores across America and the Walmart stores, and we don't take any money from this. We don't look at this as a business. We look at this like our charity. We love dogs. We want them to live longer. So we make our food, and whatever it costs us to make it is what we sell it to the stores for. There's no extra there's no profit. There's nothing even to donate to our rescue. We just pay for that ourselves. But we make a food that actually retails in stores for half the price of what you would pay in a pet store. So our motto is half the price and twice the life. And that's Gentle Giant's dog food. So people call us, they write to us, they have all kind of questions about feeding and care, and we help everybody. It's our charity,
It's not something you think about, the food. You don't think about that as far as trying to give your dog some longevity. And I've got 2 or 3 dogs, and I'm going to have to try that out because I want them to hang around for a while.
Well, let me tell you something. Let me point something out to you and to your listeners that's going to really open your eyes. First thing, if you have a bag of dog food at home and you haven't, put it in a container and thrown out the bag, but if you actually look at the bag, on the back of every bag of dog food, as required by federal law, is a chart called Guaranteed Analysis. It sits next to the ingredients. And if you look at that, the first item is protein in this chart. The second is crude fat. It doesn't say healthy fat. It says crude fat because it contains saturated fats. And you'll see that just about every dog food sold in the U.S. has a crude fat content of 12 to 22%, which is not natural in the food. It's been added to the food to make dogs hungrier. Yeah. As I said earlier, we don't add the fat to our food. But something even worse, feel your dog's food in your fingers. A lot of people won't even touch their dog's food. I tell people, pick up some kibbles, rub them in your fingers, put the kibbles down, rub your fingers together, and see if you don't feel that slightly greasy feel.
Right, a slimy feel, yeah.
Exactly. Do you know that that's cutting dogs' lifespans in half? And let me tell you why, so you understand. Okay, we don't do that. Our dog food is bone dry on the outside. I mean, and we don't do it for many reasons. One, for the health of the dog, but also the only reason you would do that is if you want the dog to eat more, to make you have to buy more dog food. And we don't believe in that.
Right.
But to understand how really bad this greasy feel is, it's chicken fat that has been sprayed onto the outside of dog food. And think of it this way. Would you ever take a can of bacon grease or a whole thing of chicken fat and pour it down your garbage disposal at home? Would you do that? Well, of course not. And most people know that unlike water that evaporates, animal fat coagulates and hardens. And once it hardens, it's like cement. You'd have to buy a new garbage disposal. So here's my point. When you realize that animal fat will ruin a metal garbage disposal, what do you think is happening to the arteries and intestines of the dog you love when every single meal, every single bite, every single kibble is encapsulated in animal fat? I tell people, we didn't discover the fountain of youth. I wish I had, because I'd be drinking from it.
Right.
Okay? But we're just not prematurely killing dogs. And our dogs are living so much longer because their arteries and intestines aren't blocked with fat, and the nutrients from our food are flowing freely throughout the dog's body, bringing maximum nutrition. And as a result of that, that's why we have dogs running around in their mid-20s, healthy and happy.
I'm going to have to grab a couple of bags myself because, like I said, I want my dog to hang around for a while.
Well, I'll tell you something. The only complaint I get from people is some people say, Burt, all you and your wife do is focus on helping dogs live longer and helping them be healthier. Why don't you do anything for people? And I say, wait a minute. If I help you keep your dog with you an extra 5 or 10 years longer, don't you think I've done something for
Absolutely.
you? And they go, oh, yeah, you're right. I never thought of it that way.
Hey, so what shows are you guys watching in quarantine? You're stuck at your house. What Netflix shows are you guys watching?
Well, we have a huge sound system. We have a real home theater. So, and we have lots of, 4K, movies and stuff like that. And we watch movies and also, I guess, like a lot of people, we have the news on, but it's not so much Netflix. I mean, and we have Netflix too,
Yeah.
and they've got some great movies there, I mean, I like the superhero movies too, but, we watch regular television, and we watch we're always fixing up our house, and we watch that, HGTV.
Oh, yeah, I love that.
And
Yeah.
we watch the news and some of the cooking shows, we watch and stuff like that. But at the same time, we have wonderful movies, and we have this huge sound system. It's just like being in a theater. I mean, I think my walls of my bedroom shake from turning on this big sound system. But we just have a great time. And my wife and I, we both work 7 days a week. We're so into the, caring for animals. And remember, we've got more than 50 dogs in our house.
Oh, so you're always busy.
Yeah. And, people say, how could you have 50 dogs in your house? And, they actually are amazing. They're incredibly clean. They're all housebroken. They all get along. They treat each other as warmly and affectionately as they treat us. And even though I have 2 human kids who I love totally with my heart, I'll tell you something about canine kids. Not one of the 15,500 dogs that we've had our house in the last 25 and a half years has ever asked me to buy him a car.
That's right. They're way low maintenance, the animals are.
Very low maintenance in comparison.
Well, I'm going to give you a suggestion. If you have time, you have to watch Tiger King on Netflix. It's so bizarre. Tiger King would have made a great Batman villain. Let me just put it that way. I think you guys might enjoy. It's just so ridiculous and out there.
Well, let me ask you, is this a movie or a series?
It's a documentary. So it's a 6-part or a 7-part documentary about this guy who lives in Oklahoma and has a big cat zoo. So tigers and lions and stuff. And his life is so bizarre. What they're doing is so bizarre. It's insane. But yeah, it's what everyone's watching right now. I would highly suggest it. It's very entertaining. No other way to describe it, but it's bizarre. But anyway.
Well, that reminds me of something. That reminds me of something that we have. People that use our food for other than just dogs.
Oh,
And
wow.
there's some people and I'm not sure if it's Alabama or Florida. They also have a wild animal. Wild animals. They have a special permit and they care for wild animals. And some of these animals are fed our food, our Gentle Giants food, very nutritious. And it's we've got the best quality meat and everything in it. But it's just funny that you would bring that up, because people write to me, and not just wild animals, but people that have some animals that you wouldn't normally think of. Say, "Oh, my pet raccoon loves your food." I get all these crazy things, but it's wonderful, and it's so nice because my wife and I, we just love, our charity, and we love doing things, for people and for dogs. And now we have our new cat food coming out. I'll tell you kind of an interesting thing. We don't consider ourselves cat experts like we do with dogs, having had 15,500 in our house. But something very interesting happened with last year. 2 of our cats died. One was 31 years old, and the other was 32, which is incredibly long for a cat to live. Guess what they were eating?
Our
food. Dog food.
Yeah.
That's right.
Incredible.
Now, we had regular cat food for them because we do know that cats need a little bit more protein than dogs do. But we had cat food there, but they kept eating our food like 90%. And to have 2 of them, one lived to 31 and 32. And they loved our food. So we already know we have a winner. So we're coming out with our cat food, and we're hoping that what our cat food can do for people's cats is like what our dog food is doing for people's dogs, helping them to live much longer, healthier, happier lives with a better quality of life.
It's just amazing what you're doing. I hope you continue doing it. It's been an honor. I really appreciate your time. I hope you guys stay safe. Wear a mask. And thank you so much for your time.
Well, thank you, Citizen. And I think I should send off our interview with "To the Batmobile."